It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Tired. If you follow my Twitter at Don Tony D, I know I'm not that active on it, but yesterday I went what I thought was supposed to be a Christmas party. It felt like a political rally, and I haven't posted all the video that I've shot as of yet, but I ended up going to Staten Island last night. Stood overnight at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we went to a charity fundraiser for the Danielle Antar Foundation for Diabetes, and it was advertised as a holiday party. Now, the people running it, some of them are Italian, some of them are Jewish, so I didn't see the word Christmas anywhere, even though there was Christmas trees and everything like that. But we show up there, and everything is USA, 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 and I'm not anti-USA at all. But when I start uploading some of this video, I felt like I was at a political rally, and very, very interesting night. Some of you already saw, believe it or not, any of you that knows who this guy is, the fucking naked cowboy is there walking around like nothing. And he stopped by, hung out with my mom for about 10 minutes. She just had heart surgery 2 weeks ago, had to replace the pacemaker in her heart. So she was a little out of it, but my wife got a kick out of it. Very, very cool guy. I never met him before. I mean, Naked Cowboy, for any of you that don't know who he is, Google it. He's an icon here in New York for decades. Very nice guy. You would think perverted, showing off his physique, trying to show up the men. Not at all. Pretty cool guy. And then what was even funnier, and there's two videos on Twitter right now. I couldn't upload anything long because I had my phone with me and the battery was low. But Fat Man Scoop was there. And if you go on my Twitter and just listen to the second video for about 10 seconds, you'll know who he is. There's always like a mix of all club songs, and he kind of like MCs it. And the wild thing about it is, I kid you not, just to show you some proof, this is live right now. You can see my mouse going crazy. This is a screenshot of my Dropbox account where I keep a lot of my old music. And if I go to freestyle and hip hop, which is all classic stuff, if I scroll down, if any of you have ever heard of Crooklyn Clan, which is a great DJ mixtapes from yesteryear, if I scroll down the Crooklyn Clan, you'll see there they are. Look, Fat Man Scoop. Where is he? Crooklyn Clan. Yeah, there he is. Fat Man Scoop. If I scroll down even more, you'll see Fat Man Scoop. I never realized how much Fat Man Scoop I had in my music collection for years. Where is it? Yeah, here's a couple more. And not to be misconstrued, Fat Man Scoop is not me when I used to aspire to be a journalist. So, by the way, might have a little announcement coming soon regarding the DTKC show in 2024. All I will say right now is that some people in the podcasting world may not like the announcement. Might be time for us to take back the crown. Nothing is set in stone yet. One thing about Kev and I that we've proven for 20 years plus is if we start something, unless there's some strange circumstances, we're going to finish it. And, when we broke off a couple of years ago, I mean, obviously things got a little bit complacent. There was a little bit of friction. COVID came around. Things got a little bit tiresome, wanting to expand and, just a lot of things. Plus, I think it also reflected wrestling from 3 or 4 years ago. And because of that, a lot of other shows kind of leapfrogged everything that we have done since. And, we've been doing these special episodes since springtime of this year. And people keep asking over and over again, when are you going to do a regular show? When are you going to do a weekly show? When are you going to do a regular show? Number one, the only way we're going to do that again is if demand is there. We are out to make money, but we're also out to make friends, unlike CM Punk. And yeah, Jim Cornette is the top of the mountain. I don't think we'll ever be able to surpass him. But one thing that our track record shows is that for many, many years, the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show was the number one show on the net. And I actually, on Patreon earlier today, I uploaded the February 3rd, 2014 episode when CM Punk quit WWE. And it's really, really fascinating because that February 3rd episode and the February 10th episodes, those two led to CM Punk blocking us across all the social media. And look, these days, a block is no big deal, but at that time, what we said got around so much that if you remember that CM Punk MMA documentary, they reached out to us and said, we want to use some of your footage for our documentary. And they gave me a list of clips that they would like to use, and they told me to choose one. And, I picked the one where we talked about some of his issues. I mean, my view has changed over the years with CM Punk since then, but it's kind of fascinating to go back 9 years and to hear not only us, criticizing WWE and CM Punk for their behavior, but I found a screenshot of a picture we used back then. And it was Bully Ray trying to get CM Punk into TNA Impact Wrestling. Kind of funny. 9 years later, the same bullshit started flying around. Oh, Impact Wrestling wants CM Punk. Yeah, I want Beyonce to perform in my house. We all want these things, but, we can't afford it, So that was never happening. CM Punk going to Impact. Look, I'm a supporter of Impact right now. I want to see them grow. I want to see them take back a little bit of what they have lost. But, let's, reel in some of the truth about everything. Even now, people are using common sense. And you know what? Right before we went live, and we'll get into questions right now because that's what this show is about. On Sunday, we call this the lazy show. I show up with nothing. You tell me what you want to talk about. You post the questions, I answer them. You post the comments, I share them. Super chats never required. We'll always get some VIP treatment because they do keep us in business and pay some of the bills. It's pretty obvious. But I want to bring this up first because this is a great example of what's going on. CM Punk. Again, I re-emphasize what we talked about the night that he returned at Survivor Series. There is not one journalist, there is not one podcaster that is out there that is close with CM Punk, his lawyer, Triple H, Nick Khan, their attorneys, to know anything about CM Punk's contract. People guessed. Some people guessed right. Some people guessed more wrong. Some people talked on both sides of their mouth. And that's just a fact. And there's nothing wrong with that. They won't admit it, but that is the truth. Now you have morons that are saying, oh, he signed for 3 years at $6 million. Who do you think told them that? Was there an SEC filing by TKO Group Holdings, who, remember, is the one that signs the checks? No. Now, the latest nonsense is a behavior clause in his contract. And that's why he didn't talk about AEW. You know what they're basing that on? CM Punk not talking about AEW on Monday. We told you Sunday night before Raw, CM Punk is not going to call out AEW by name. He may do Ariel Helwani down the line. He may do Logan Paul down the line. And he is going to be professional, because the more he is professional, the bigger middle finger he sticks up the Young Bucks' ass, Jack Perry's ass, and everybody else that gave him a hard time, even the media world out there. CM Punk, the more he does well in WWE, the more he acts like AEW never existed, the bigger fuck you give. I don't think CM Punk hates Tony Khan at all. I really don't. I think CM Punk realizes that Tony Khan is he's like a trout in an ocean of alligators. You know, he's a trout. I mean, what's he going to do? He's got nice fluffy hair and beautiful looking colors. And he's so nice. He's so cute. He's so harmless. And there's so many alligators that'll rip his ass apart. Come here, bitch. Come here, Tony. So I don't think CM Punk hates Tony Khan. But the fact is, we don't know. None of us know. So this behavior clause that people are floating around, who the fuck do you think told them that? They're just like, oh, I wonder why he's not talking about AEW. I wonder why he's not even mentioning nothing. He ain't even taking a shot at them. Oh, he must have a clause in his contract. Everybody in WWE has a clause in their contract that if they have behavior or professional conduct that is against their standards, they can be released at any time. It's common fucking sense. But here's another one that people are trying to turn into a news story. I want to thank Ronnie C. for sending this. Oh, wait. No, not the Kairi Sane. That's a discussion. This one. Police Squad. Police Squad. I love it. Naked Gun. Thank you, DT, for answering my question on DTKC. Quick question. Who do I think replaces Kevin Owens in the, I think you meant United States Championship tournament, since he broke his hand? Okay. There's a lot of websites reporting that Kevin Owens broke his hand. There's a lot of websites that are clickbaiting, and even podcasters that, that Kevin Owens is going to be out for an extended period of time. My answer to Police Squad and to all of you out there is pay very close attention to WWE social media. WWE never mentioned on social media that Kevin Owens was not going to compete in the United States, I almost said IC title because he wrote that, United States Championship Tournament. Kevin Owens is not being replaced. I personally think the reason why Kevin Owens, they did this storyline with the hand, is twofold. Number one, Kevin Owens keeps knocking out Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. So they're trying to neutralize Kevin Owens. He can't have that right hand. And if Kevin Owens wins this tournament, Kevin Owens will not be 100%. So if he does face Logan Paul and Logan Paul defeats him, we don't have a portion of the internet wrestling community losing their shit that WWE had a podcaster with Prime Energy beat one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation in Kevin Steen. That's why they did this. Kevin Owens is not on the shelf. WWE never reported he was out of the tournament. These are people guessing, assuming, rolling the dice. Guess what? Just like when they said that Nakamura was calling out CM Punk, they're going to be wrong once again. Who's told you that Nakamura was calling out Cody Rhodes the entire time? Trust me, Kevin Owens will not be out of that tournament. All right. Thank you, Police Squad. Ronnie C. Thank you, Ronnie, for the 10 spot. Not sure if you've seen this yet, but fans are turning on Kairi Sane big time. She worked slow and sloppy versus Bianca. Her War Games work was subpar, and now the clip with Sasha is being rehashed. My thoughts. Honestly, this is why sometimes when some of you send your super shout-outs early, it helps me because I can prepare a little bit. I didn't even know what Ronnie was talking about until I went on Twitter earlier today. And I searched Kairi Sane. And I'm kind of blown away with what I am seeing. There are thousands of people that are ripping apart Kairi Sane, saying that she was slow against Bianca Belair, that she was sloppy, that since she has been back, she is not very good. They think that, and believe me, I'm not just saying, this is not just one or two people saying this. On the IWC right now on Twitter, even on Facebook, there's a lot of commotion that people are saying we're finally starting to realize that Kairi Sane is overrated, because Kairi Sane a couple of years ago, especially during the beginnings of COVID, that her and Asuka, she was always kind of hidden because of Asuka picking up the ball as a tag team. But when Kairi Sane is by herself, Kairi Sane is not as good as what people perceive her to be. And now people are reposting when Mercedes Moné made her debut in Japan, and she hit the finisher on Kairi Sane, and Kairi Sane, we don't know what the fuck she was doing at the time. You would have thought they would have practiced that move 100 times before they did it. My answer to Ronnie and to everyone else out there, Kairi Sane has been in Japan for several years. Kairi Sane has been working for a promotion that is not the WWE style. We have to give her a little bit of time. I know she's been back for a month, but let me say this with a little bit of respect intended. There are podcasters and some journalists, elite journalists, if you know what I'm talking about, that are now saying that, is CM Punk, a watered down CM Punk, really what's best for business? They want to provoke CM Punk into opening his mouth to rip AEW. You have people now saying that, CM Punk's return is not as good and it's kind of mild. And this CM Punk, is this the best CM Punk we could get? The motherfucker is back for 1 week. And because he's being a little bit professional, you got people out there that are already calling for CM Punk's demise. Fuck you. Kairi Sane is only back a month. Kairi Sane has to adapt again to the WWE style. And my answer to Ronnie and everybody else out there that is bitching about Kairi Sane, 3 years ago, people weren't saying this about Kairi Sane. Kabuki Warriors were great. And honestly, when Kairi Sane had those incidents with Nia Jax and others, I don't remember anybody saying, Kairi Sane kind of sucks and it might have been her fault. Kairi Sane, there's nothing wrong with her. My only issue, when I saw her made the return, it looked like she lost a lot of weight. Losing weight might give you even more speed, but I think Kairi Sane just has to get acclimated. Kairi Sane facing Charlotte Flair, facing Bianca Belair, this is not like riding a bicycle where you come back and suddenly, it's just like when I used to ride a bike when I was in 8th grade. She's got to get used to the style again. I think people are already going after Kairi, especially for Friday's match on SmackDown, which I didn't think was that bad. I watched back some of the clips people were complaining about, but you want to know something too? I invite all of you right now, or after the show, go on Twitter and type in Shotzi versus Bayley, because that's another thing that I'm starting to float around and starting to pick up a lot of steam. And this is because I was searching about the other stuff with Kairi. There is there's a few people out there with a couple of thousand likes. This is not just one moron making this opinion. People are complaining big time that Bayley is jobbing out to Shotzi's lame finisher. And they're showing the house show from this past weekend where Bayley lost to Shotzi. And Bayley ate Shotzi's finisher, and they're like, wow, what a lame finisher. And you know what the finisher is, if some of you don't follow Shotzi that closely? She uses the sliced bread that Brian Kendrick made famous, and others have used. She uses sliced bread, but because it doesn't look like Bayley should be hospitalized after, they're ripping the shit out of Shotzi. And I think, you know what? this is why I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, because that is the place where when people want to feel like they're a part of a discussion or wanted or in a conversation and not feel lonely, they'll just agree and go along with some of the stupidest shit around. And the problem is this shit's trends. And when it trends, it starts polluting other people out there. And now you got people, trying to push that Kairi Sane sucks and Shotzi sucks and this sucks and CM Punk is watered down. Unfucking believable, man. I don't fucking get it. I don't fucking get it. I mean, I don't know what these people want out of wrestling. I don't know what they want. Car accidents 24/7. But the good thing is that I don't think Kairi Sane gives a shit about what some people are saying online. I think CM Punk obviously is not going to listen to these morons and start going rogue, because that brings out the popcorn. And as far as Shotzi, there is nothing wrong with her. Nothing wrong with her at all. Thank you, Ronnie, for that. Okay. Chris, before I get to yours, Steve Joseph sent this earlier today. Thank you for the 2 spots, Steve. Is CM Punk a hypocrite? No, I don't think he's a hypocrite. I think, Thunder Rosa said something similar. No, she didn't hear me say it first. A lot of people feel the same way. CM Punk, for a long time, had a bad taste in his mouth about pro wrestling. Tried to venture in MMA, did not work out as he expected. Years are going by. He's getting older. The body starts breaking down. We forget that CM Punk grew up as a wrestling fan and a pro wrestler. And at some point, he started falling into love with wrestling again. It is a business. It is a business first and foremost. Just because Tony Khan has billions to piss away because he has no wife or husband or kids or real deep responsibility outside of wrestling, he could piss away $1 billion, still have $9 billion left over, and people could say, wow, what a fucking failure. But you know what? If I had $10 billion and I got to live my dream and I gave away 10% of my income to, enjoy, and I enjoyed every dollar of that billion I lost, I don't fucking give a shit. I don't blame Tony Khan. When Eric Bischoff said last week that he doesn't think Tony Khan is in this for the money, people thought it was so shocking. We said this 3 years ago. I'm not saying that Bischoff is late in the game, but, you sometimes need to wait a few years to see if that's the case. Tony Khan is about ratings. As much as possible, ratings, because at some point, even though Warner Media has a little stake in AEW, which is obvious, we've talked about that for a long time, at some point AEW is going to have to answer to Warner Media, look, guys, we can't have 2-3 hours on a primetime night and only get 300,000 viewers. We love you, but, we got stockholders to answer to. We got investors. At some point, they're going to say, why are we fucking giving 3 hours or 2 hours on a Saturday night for 400,000 viewers? Then it's not, but Tony, but wrestling, Sting. No, at some point. So believe me, Tony Khan does care about the ratings. And he cares about paying the bills. He doesn't want to hemorrhage money. Listen, the guy got $10 billion, whether his father gave it to him or he inherited it or he won a lotto or he robbed the bank or just, found it. He has that money. And the fact that he hasn't lost it all, even before AEW, tells you that he kind of does know a little bit about managing money. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to answer to Warner Media. And anybody out there, that's why I was going to bring this up yesterday, but I didn't. I'll save it for another day. But you have these elite media that are now doing to Warner Media what they did to Jay White, Will Ospreay, and everyone else. What do we say for the last year? That when someone becomes a free agent that we know is likely going to sign with AEW, what do? WWE's in demand. WWE wants this person. WWE has a tremendous interest in Will Ospreay. WWE has tremendous interest in Jay White. And you know that, with all due respect, neither one is needed in WWE right now. We're going to get a few with the OC. So what happens? They know that they're signing with AEW. So they paint this picture that WWE wants them, needs them, gotta have them, obsessed with them. And they chose AEW. Now, this week, the Tony Khan pitched an idea to Warner Media in October. And Warner Media said, no, thank you, but no thank you. Take note that they never told you what that idea was. They want to make it seem that Warner Media chooses AEW over WWE. Fuck you. Blow me. Because you know what that idea is? We'll give you a great deal for Raw, but you have to drop. You cannot have AEW on the same network. You know why they didn't say that, guys? You know why the media did not say that to you this week? Because they don't want somebody from Warner Media to come out there or some schmuck that is not involved in wrestling to write on some business site that Warner Media turned down WWE because of AEW. Isn't that kind of the opposite of the Vince McMahon lawsuit going on right now? Did you guys see that lawsuit that went on this week that came out? That some investors are suing Vince McMahon because he didn't take the biggest offer? So isn't that kind of the opposite? That Warner Media, instead of making a deal that could benefit their investors even more, chooses Tony Khan and 350,000 viewers? Isn't that kind of like the same shit? That's why they didn't tell you what the idea was, because they don't want to go on record and then have an issue with Warner Media. Blow me. So CM Punk, is he a hypocrite? No. He's doing what's best for him, what's best for his family. WWE's doing what's best for business. WWE is a publicly traded billion-dollar company that is owned by TKO Group Holdings Incorporated. And CM Punk knows that they're not going to tolerate the shit that Fluffy Tony. I think we got to call him Fluffy Tony from now on. He's like that bottle of fluff, that marshmallow fluff. That's what Tony Khan is. I actually like the guy, but he is soft. He is extremely soft. And Tony Khan knows, it's kind of like, like a dog that has like a strict master. And if the dog shits in the house, the master is going to shove the dog's face in it. And I know that sounds cruel and awful, but if you have a dog that has to be very obedient in front of their master, and then the master goes to Florida for a weekend, and the dog stays by somebody else's house, and you come back from Florida, hey, how was Rocky? He fucking shit everywhere. He ripped up all the pillows. He fucking peed on my sheets. He fucking humped my daughter's leg. What the fuck is wrong with your dog? I bring the dog home, and the dog doesn't do any of that because the dog knows. Shove that squeaky toy right up his arse. You see what I mean. If somebody is a little bit tough, and they're not going to take this shit, you ain't going to get away with it. It's like a kid in school when you got a strict teacher. You posture, everyone. In Catholic school, when I went to Catholic school, we'd be like, hey, how you doing? Posture. You don't dare cross the nun. You get hit in the hands with a ruler. But some other jerk off that's a substitute teacher, you throw airplanes, you do spitballs, you fucking, you talk to everybody, you play with your little games and stuff. So that's what CM Punk is. CM Punk is doing what's best for CM Punk and his family. WWE's doing what's best for business. And CM Punk does not have many years left in the wrestling ring. CM Punk has had a couple of injuries in the last couple of years. Is it because of lack of work? Is it because of just his body breaking down? To be determined. But CM Punk doesn't have many years left. And my answer, Steve, to you and everybody else that thinks that CM Punk is a hypocrite, and I say this with nothing but respect intended. So what? We get to see him in wrestling again. Would you rather CM Punk stay at home and play with Walter or Larry or Mo or Curly, play with his fucking dog, sleep with his wife, show up at Chicago Blackhawks games and not wrestle? Which one would you rather have? Me, I'd rather have CM Punk, the hypocrite, in the ring, going up against Seth Rollins, going up against Roman Reigns, going up against Randy Orton, whoever else, Cody Rhodes, whatever you want to put on the platter in the next couple of years. I'd rather have him on TV than for everybody to say, he's not a hypocrite. he had the offer. He stood by his ground. I'm staying home. Oh, that makes us feel good. That makes wrestling fans, isn't that great that these wrestlers say no to WWE? And we could just watch their Ring of Honor days, Straight Edge Society, Summer of Punk. You know, after a while, when you keep playing the record, it kind of starts to skip, or you kind of get bored of it. I want CM Punk back on my television. Thank you, Steve. Following up with some CM Punk talk, thank you, Chris Cuttra, for the 1999. To me, CM Punk's promo on Monday felt like the start of a story where he's trying to be humble and do the right thing, but eventually someone is going to push him, and the controversial Punk will eventually come out. Kevin and I talked about this on the Survivor Series Aftermath episode, which you all really should check out. Seth Rollins is going to indirectly call out CM Punk when they finally have their confrontations. Seth Rollins is going to address CM Punk being elsewhere. I don't know if they'll drop the letters AEW, but this is not Vince McMahon's company anymore. They still name drop Chris Jericho. They name drop Sting at Survivor Series. It was the anniversary of his appearance in WWE. I don't think they will be afraid to name drop the letters at one time. And you're not going to get Tony Khan to go on Twitter and say, stop mentioning us. Because Christian Cage, Chris Jericho, and a whole bunch of others, MJF, I mean, they've used WWE in their promos. MJF has even used Hunter's name and others. Seth Rollins will definitely bring up CM Punk's absence. And MMA stuff, that's not trying to hurt WWE. Him outside of wrestling, doing commentary elsewhere, does not hurt WWE. But going to AEW definitely could have tried to hurt WWE. So Seth Rollins will absolutely incorporate this in the storyline. But as far as CM Punk goes, I'm telling you guys, he is not going to rip on the Young Bucks. He's not going to rip on Hangman Page. He's not going to rip on Fluffy Tony. He's not going to rip on Jack Perry. You know, if he's on Ariel Helwani and he wants a little bit more, CM Punk will address it in some way, but CM Punk is going to just, the past is in the past. And now, you know, I'm where I should have been all along. That's it. That's it. It's not controversy. They're not going to risk it all because we want to hear it. You don't think I don't want to hear CM Punk trash AEW in some capacity? Hell, when he went to AEW, I wanted him to trash WWE. You know, when Christian went to TNA back in the day and he went back to WWE, Christian didn't even acknowledge his TNA career because WWE is the big time. You know, but that was more of a time where WWE never acknowledged TNA. At the end of the day, outside of wrestling, we all want the same thing, but we also got to look at it in a common sense, realistic standpoint. You know, they're not going to do what we fantasize them to do. They're not going to go rogue. Simply, they made record views just so CM Punk could walk down that aisle, hug a few people, and say, I'm back on Raw. Look at the amount of attention that that got. And he never once had to say, fuck you, Tony. Never had to say a word. And I think that's why people are even more upset. That, wait, CM Punk didn't do anything classic Punk. And he got all this attention. So they're kind of baffled by it. Thank you, Chris. The controversial Punk will come out. Absolutely. I think CM Punk will bring up a little bit of Seth Rollins' reign before WWE. It'll get Raw. It has to. It has to play on a little bit of reality. But they will do it in a way that doesn't give Tony Khan or anybody in AEW a reason to say something, you know, back from it. They don't want to give him any ammunition. Forcing the other side to not be able to respond sometimes is the greatest revenge. It is the greatest revenge. You don't think Moxley was hoping to God that CM Punk would have said something back after Moxley said earlier this week, you don't want to know what I think about it? With all due respect, look, I still got a bunch of his books. I bought them to support the guy. But then this week, he has the balls to say their entertainment, we're wrestling. Think about some of the shit that we watch in AEW. Their entertainment and we're wrestling. For a catchphrase and a line, that sounds great and everything. But AEW sure does a lot of goofy stuff that is not wrestling. Some of the most popular storylines that AEW's done in the last 6 months have been comedy. AEW is no different than WWE. If anything, AEW is just more an adult-friendly product. It is more targeted to adults, 14 and up. All right. Raul Harris, thank you for the 5 spot. Serena Deeb. Did I hear about Serena Deeb having seizures? Yes, I did. And I hope that she is okay. Seizures are no joke. I have a friend who's now about 50, and he was dealing with seizures for the last 20 some odd years. He's on some type of medication now that keeps them in check. My wife, one of her dogs, has seizures, and she's on some seizure medication that prevents her from having seizures. I've only seen her dog have one seizure in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, my brother has one of those bulldogs, and he's having seizures now, and they don't think that he has much time left because every time he has a seizure, his legs collapse from underneath him, he pees everywhere, and he just can't, his whole nervous system just goes disarray. I don't know how much of Serena Deeb has left as far as a wrestling career goes. I don't know the source of the seizures. I will say this. I don't pretend to know much about this. I've never had them myself personally. But I'll say this. This is not something that just comes because you ate spicy food. This doesn't just come because there's a bug going around. Seizures, something is wrong. And I think the only thing you could really do is keep it under control. I don't know if there's a cure for all the seizures, but if she was away because of the seizures, hopefully whatever her condition was caused by, that they have it under control. Serena Deeb, let's be honest, was at the tail end of her career anyway. If Serena Deeb was forced into retirement now from active competition, she could still train. She could still help some of the stars of tomorrow. But if she has to retire from active competition because of this, Serena Deeb's had a great career. Is it Hall of Fame worthy? I don't know. That's up to be determined by all of you out there. I think Serena Deeb, legit. I know this might sound like a stretch, but for our generation, for the last 30 years, I'll say, I'm more than that, but for the last 30 years, I would put Serena Deeb in the top 50 of most talented women wrestlers. Serena Deeb is great in the ring. Serena Deeb was never a joke in the ring. It was never about comedy. When she was in the Straight Edge Society, I thought she fucking did great. And when you go back at that time and you look at some of the women that she was surrounded by, with all due respect to the Kelly Kellys and the Summer Rays and all that, she had to, work around a lot of women that was not their role. Kelly Kelly down the line turned it up and did a decent job. Serena Deeb is great. She's great. Most important thing is that whatever caused this, that it's in check and she gets to live a long rest of her life. Seizures suck, and I don't know what the cause is. There are so many forms of seizures. So maybe one day she'll elaborate a little bit. And maybe she could also, tell everybody how she was able to have it treated. That's very private and personal, so she doesn't have to say it, but she might be able to help someone else, Summer Rae did have some nice legs. She did. But I'm a brunette type of guy. I'm not a blonde type of guy. Just be honest with you. Clone Force, 99 with 2 spot. Thank you, Clone Force. MVP should manage Jade Cargill. You want to know something? Somebody the other day, I don't remember who it was. Damn, I'm sorry for forgetting who it was. Kevin, I did it on the Q&A this past week. Said that Paul Heyman should be the advocate for Jade Cargill. And I don't think that needs to happen. Paul Heyman is a one-person guy right now, and I think, if anything, I think people would love Paul Heyman to reunite with CM Punk down the line once his stint with Roman Reigns is done, and he is not returning to Brock Lesnar. A lot of people think that Paul Heyman will reunite with Brock Lesnar before Brock Lesnar calls it a career. MVP manager Jade Cargill, the more I think about it, I like that 1,000 times more than Paul Heyman. I mean, Paul Heyman is one of my favorites. At any time I do anything with wrestling, there's always something ECW close by. Paul Heyman is in my top 5 favorite people in wrestling, period, ever. Paul Heyman, for me, I don't need to explain it. But I think, and let me also say this, it's not because MVP is black. I want to make that clear. I just picture MVP classy with the suit, the way he talks. I mean, Omos, I like Omos. And he made Omos more legit. The way he described Omos, it didn't sound like Bobby Heenan talking about the Brooklyn Brawler, with all due respect. I liked Steve Lombardi. But I always knew that the Brooklyn Brawler was Steve Lombardi wearing torn up Yankee shirts and a leather hat, looking like he just came from an S&M down 42nd Street. It was still Steve Lombardi, kind of smelly and unshaven. And Bobby Heenan trying to convince us that Steve Lombardi was 10 times better because he was the Brooklyn Brawler was a joke. But MVP with Omos, he enhanced Omos. I think MVP in the corner of Jade Cargill, I would not be surprised if they do a storyline where MVP, and I know they don't have too many managers, but MVP and Jinder Mahal and Paul Heyman and anybody else that they could come up with all want to manage Jade Cargill. And either Jade Cargill turns them all down, or maybe somebody else gets introduced to us. Not like a Miss Elizabeth. We're not going to get a Mr. Elizabeth, but I think they could do a storyline where Raw wants Jade, SmackDown wants Jade, NXT wants Jade, Paul Heyman wants Jade, everybody wants Jade, and Jade turns them all away. But I do. Yeah, Mr. Stone, absolutely. Put Mr. Stone in this. There's enough people. I mean, you can't say Bayley. She's the leader of Damage Control, but she will be booted from Damage Control soon. But, if I had a choice between MVP and Paul Heyman, I think MVP would be better for Jade Cargill. I do. Thank you, Clone. Will Chisholm. And we'll head over to the chat after this. Will Chisholm, thank you for the 10 spot. Will, if your Triple H would tell you to tell Bayley to stop teasing Mercedes Moné if they're not bringing her in, but it does feel like some smoke to it. What do I think, DT? I'm not trying to keep cheap plugging Kevin but this is why I think 1/1/24, I'm jumping the gun. I don't care. I'm jumping the gun. Probably going to piss some people off. I'm going to tell Kev Castle, you know what? January 1, 2024, we should start our quest to regaining our crown. Seriously. January 1st happens to be a Monday night. So how that would work, I have no idea. We would not be doing video. I have to be honest with you. I want to make this even across the board. But just to bring up that show again, Mercedes Moné returning to WWE, especially with the amount of money that's coming in. Yes, the stock went down 20%, but that's not because of WWE's business. That's because of TKO overpaying WWE and landing a softer SmackDown TV deal than was expected. That's why investors did not sell because, the bloodline has hit a brick wall. Judgment Day is a little bit too boring. We won Monday Night Raw. No, it's totally different. Mercedes Moné, beloved Triple H. And with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis out of the picture, why would Mercedes Moné not return? You're allowed to twitch. You're allowed to have a little bit of outside venture as long as it doesn't contradict with WWE and its product. Mercedes Moné can do a movie if it's worked out on a deal. If there was ever a time, and plus there's a video circulating, I was going to share it the other day, but there's a video circulating of Mercedes Moné. She was going to be on some interview or something, and this guy gave her a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. And she played along with it. She was holding the belt, and with all due respect, it just looked right. And just to show you, I'm sorry for doing this, but just to show you another example on how some of these news sites reveal that they got no sources at all, I swear I will never do another show again if I'm exaggerating. The fucking minute that video came out 5 days ago of Mercedes Moné holding the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Do a Google search. I'll give props if anybody wants a Google search it right now and post it in the chat so I can let everybody know. The next day, some wrestling news sites, you know what they reported? Our sources tell us that the deal in the works between Mercedes Moné and AEW might have gone cold. Might have gone cold. They saw a video the day before of Mercedes Moné holding the women's championship and not angry, not downplaying it. And WWE recently name dropping the 4 horsewomen. We know about Bayley's history, and Bayley's about to get booted from Damage Control. So because they now see the writing on the wall, like, oh, we fucked up earlier this year with Mercedes. She didn't debut in AEW. Oh, shit. She might be back in WWE next year. Each day it feels more and more that way. We better report. Our sources tell us that the discussions have gone cold. They got no sources, my friends. Triple H is not doing anything to make people believe that Sasha Banks is returning. If Bayley misses her friend, if the WWE Universe miss Sasha Banks, if some women in the wrestling business in WWE talk to her, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. No, I don't think there's any teasing going on. They want Mercedes back in the WWE. And we believe that 2024, she will be back in the WWE. Makes the most sense. It makes the most sense. I think that is absolutely going to happen. Absolutely going to happen. Why wouldn't it? She's training for a return. Women's Royal Rumble? I think her in the Women's Royal Rumble is a definite possibility. I'm not going to sit here and tell you my sources tell us that WWE is considering bringing in Mercedes Moné for the Royal Rumble. No, but I think that would make a hell of a lot of sense. All right. Thank you, Will Chisholm. Just too far. I appreciate if I could do the Paul Bearer. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I can't. See, when I think about it, I can't do it. I used to do it when he was in the cement. Save me. Talking to the Undertaker. Oh, yes. Yes. Believe it or not, I've said this before. Once in a while when I used to take a dump, when you force it, like Macho Man would come out for some reason, I'd be like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes, oh, yes. 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 I can't do it. I'll do it out of nowhere. See, it's like when we used to do Road Warrior Hawk. I'll just be talking about, well, she just, but hopefully that was good enough. Hopefully. I hope. I miss Paul Bearer. I miss Bray Wyatt. A lot of people think Bray Wyatt may be put in the Hall of Fame in Philly. We talked about that last week. I think it all depends on his family. I look at it like this, whether it's next year or the year after that, there's not going to be a dry eye in the house. I think Philly would fucking go bananas to celebrate Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt in the Hall of Fame 2024, definite, as long as the family is ready. There's nothing, no WWE, if they're able and are, ready, Bray Wyatt will be in the Hall of Fame next year. And yeah, Paul Heyman, I think, goes in the Hall of Fame as well. Paul Heyman, I agree with you, Gruss. Paul Heyman, Hall of Fame 2024, you got to do it. You have to do it. You're in Philly. Come on. Come on. A fucking straw hat guy will be in the front row. Everybody will Paul Heyman, I think, is a lock for the Hall of Fame. There's definitely some locks for the Hall of Fame. Paul Heyman is definitely one of them. So, all right. We are at 51 minutes. Let's keep this going. We'll run about 90. So we got plenty of time still. Let's make these questions good. Michael Gonzalez, between Bruno Sammartino, Ultimate Warrior, CM Punk, Hulk Hogan, or someone else, whose return to WWE was the most surprising to me? It'll always be Bruno. Actually, no. It's a tie for me. It's either Bruno or Brett. Somebody's saying Jeff Jarrett. That was more business. And as you get older, time does heal all wounds. Plus, Jeff Jarrett has no power, even when he went back to WWE. I think Bret Hart and Bruno was a tie. Bruno just vowed never. I met Bruno a few times over the years. And even when I met him at some wrestling events, he was adamant he would never, ever return to WWE. But once WWE became more PG and was more trying to be more respectful and, I personally think Bruno would love the WWE of 2023. It is not the WWE of the 70s or the 80s. I'm not trying to say that, but I think Bruno absolutely would love the 2023 version of WWE. Bret Hart, I put up there for the obvious different reason, the tragic death of Owen Hart. We don't need to revisit all those circumstances surrounding it, but I think, at the end of the day, and this is easy for me to say because I'm not a member of the Hart family, I'm just a wrestling fan, but it's easy for me to say that Bret knew that it was a tragic accident, that if Owen truly didn't want to do something, he wouldn't have done it, that no one in the WWF, no one, even the company that made the harness, nobody thought that there was any risk of injury. It was tragic. Somebody at the time, I remember when I was covering it on my hotline, somebody said at the time that, Owen was afraid of heights. If Owen didn't go up there, this wouldn't have happened. And then my answer would be, and yeah, what if someone else was up there? And what if someone else donned the blue blazer and went tumbling down? And people would say to me, well, Owen could have slipped and he could have tripped. Yeah, none of us know. The more you talk about it, the more you realize it was a tragic accident. It was awful. And Bret and Bruno are the two at the top of my list that are the most surprising. This is a question that I'm asked a lot. And I feel guilty sometimes because my answer is probably not what people want to hear. Lil Bosch. What's up, Lil? Bosch asks, how many more years before AEW goes bust? I don't see AEW going bust anytime soon. Understand this. And I'm not going to get into the whole numbers thing again, but I'll summarize it. Tony Khan Its value is about $10 billion. Yeah, Meltzer could say they're going to generate $150 million this year, $170 million this year. They have to put a number higher than last year because last year was $100 million. Next year, they have to go over $200 million because every year's got to feel like it's growing. But taking in $150 million and putting out $250 million, that's a different story. We know how much money could be coming in. We don't know how much is coming out. But let's just say, just for fun, let's go extreme. Let's take it to the extreme. And let's say Tony Khan is losing $200 million a year. 5 years from now, that would be $1 billion. That guy makes money with the Jaguars. That guy makes money with other ventures, his soccer league, everywhere else. So even if he lost $200 million with wrestling, he gets it back with other ventures. So even 10 years from now, if 10 years from now we learn that Tony Khan lost $1 billion in AEW, that motherfucker still got 9 or more. Unless we get a Trading Places thing where him and his dad, you ever see Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd? Instead of those two old men, you have Shad and Tony. Sell. Unless they just lose it all, this is not going out of business. Even if Warner Brothers Discovery dropped AEW and no one on cable TV was willing to take AEW, if they fucking went to Bleacher Report or set up a streaming service and streamed all of their programming on a streaming service, if you get 200,000 fans to drop $10 a month, plus house shows, plus the $50 pay-per-views, sure, advertising revenue may not match up. But when you're talking about someone who is a billionaire tenfold, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The only way AEW gets in trouble, and I've said this before and it sounds horrible, but I'm going to keep saying it. Hopefully it'll never be true. Someone is going to get killed. Someone is going to get seriously injured. There's going to be a major lawsuit, and this is going to affect the relationship with AEW and Warner Media, and then it would have to downsize. AEW could very well downsize, but fold? I don't see AEW going out of business anytime soon. TNA has lasted 21 years. Good for them. Obviously, TNA is not what it used to be, but believe me, there were many years that I thought Impact Wrestling's demise was coming, and it never did. MLW, sure, they're a tiny little dot on a piece of loose leaf paper, but MLW is still around. AEW will be around in some capacity, even if they have to work out a deal and merge with New Japan or merge with another company. AEW will not be shutting down unless Tony Khan wants it to. You know, there could be a day where Tony Khan just says, fuck it. I don't want nothing to do with wrestling no more. I'm out. That never say never with that. I don't think it'll ever happen, but, you know, strange things have happened. You know, this is killing me. You know, it's too much. I've lost the love for it. Rocky Red, Rocky, I don't know if you heard me earlier. What do I make on the Warner Brothers Discovery Monday Night Raw tale? I mentioned this about 15 minutes ago. News reports going around that Nick Khan proposed a deal to Warner Brothers Discovery in October, and they shot it down, and they said that Tony's been very loyal to them. Again, ask those journalists, what was the idea? They will not tell you because they don't want to go on record to say that Nick Khan told Warner Brothers Discovery, do not renew AEW and you could have Raw. They're not going to go on record for saying that. Take note how they never told you what that was. They're doing the same thing like they did with Jay White and Will Ospreay and Roosh and everywhere else. Roosh is the best one. Roosh might, because Will Ospreay we knew. For weeks, we talked about Will Ospreay being the one to sign. But Roosh was probably the best one because Roosh, they put, WWE wants Roosh, Dragon Lee, Roosh. And WWE wants him, got to have him, needs him. And then Roosh, like literally 5 days later, goes on social media, I signed what bets for my family. And this is my home. And it will always be my home. And this and that. And like, motherfucker was never leaving in the first place. They want you to think that WWE wants to have everybody. They want Roosh. They want Jay White. They want Will Ospreay. They want Julie Hart. They want this. They want that. They want the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Then you say to yourself, okay, all right, now you got Will. What are you going to do with him on Raw? Well, have him feud with Seth Rollins. The WWE Universe really, let's go Will. Or fuck you, Will. Nobody fucking is clicked in the United States yet for Will Ospreay. Is he one of the top 10 talents of today? Yeah. Just as Julia. If Julia debuted on Raw or SmackDown at a house show, you'd have 10,000 fans going, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? And then you'll get one fat nerd sitting at ringside. That's Julia. Number 2, PWI, October 17th, 2023. Number 6 last year. How do you not know who Julia is? They're not household names yet. Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay a couple of years from now, MJF 3-4 years from now, when they're big, WWC. Time. It's time. I don't want, look, I even said about Indy Hartwell. I don't want her to go to Raw. Big movement online. Bring Indy to Raw. Give Indy a chance. Give her what? To double date with Dexter Lumis? So you bring it to Raw, and then what? She's going to somehow overpass Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley, whoever else was on the roster before the draft. You brought in, what do you got? Seriously. None of those people fit right now. But for some reason, you got this weird fascination with some people out there that anybody, or now even a network, Raw, the best one in town, Warner Brothers, here you go. No, we love AEW. Tony, he'd be very good to us. At the end of the day, it's business. It's not about heart emojis. So, yeah. Shout out to OTS Tribal Queen. Happy anniversary, 3 months. She is a made woman. We might have to change that. Seriously, you may have to spark the change. Made men and made women of the family. If I had the choice of the main event of this year's WrestleMania amongst all current and former available talent, who would it be? All current and previous talent. See, previous is hard because a lot of the previous talent that we like are in AEW. I would like to see, I know there's a rumor of Steve Austin versus CM Punk. I don't know how much I like that because CM Punk will have to be the heel there. And I don't know how much I want to take, Kevin Owens pulled it off. I'm not saying CM Punk couldn't pull it off. But CM Punk would really have to pull back a little bit for Steve Austin because of his age. He's mortal. But I tell you, right off the bat, I'd like CM Punk in one of those main events. I think Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, if Cody's finishing the story, I made a prediction the other day. Once Cody finishes the story, Cody will then be on SmackDown because Cody will be the champion for both brands. And that's when something happens with Randy. And then we'll get a Randy-Cody feud. But if I had to choose, if Cody was not in the picture finishing the story, I would go Rock Roman Reigns. I think that would be good. I think you put the title on the line. In fact, I would go one step further. This is a match I brought up the other day. Give me The Rock versus John Cena. Loser retires. That's it. Loser retires. Loser, no more matches in wrestling. John Cena versus The Rock. Loser, retirement match. I would do that. I'd love to see Christian and Edge do something together. But obviously, right now, they're foes in AEW. Listen, sooner or later, Christian and Edge will be aligned, and they will have the Hardys, tour, that what they're having now. But I'm not warm on CM Punk versus Steve Austin. It sounds great, when you first think about it. I'd like to see Brock versus somebody. I know some people are tired of Brock, but I'd like to see Brock versus Gunther. I'd like to see CM Punk versus Gunther. I'd love to see Gunther chop CM Punk and just watch his chest turn red. There's a few matches, but I think Brock Gunther would be one that would be fucking great, because I got news for you. That would be the ultimate test for Gunther. Because Gunther, he has dropped a lot of weight, but Gunther is still scary in the ring. But if you saw Gunther standing side by side with the Miz in suits, they're almost the same size. Miz is deceivingly big. Miz comes off as a small guy on TV. I stood next to the Miz when I met him at the Elks Lodge when he was in Tough Enough. Miz is a little bit taller than you think, or his size is a little bit bigger than you think. But I think Gunther versus Brock would be one that I would really be into. Absolutely. I go with Gunther and Brock because that's not first on a lot of people's list. People will think of Cody or Roman or Rock or CM Punk now, Randy, maybe even Cena to an extent. So I'll go a little outside the box. And I think that could happen. I think Brock and Gunther could absolutely happen. Let's see. Isaiah, if I could get a new TV deal for all of next year to go back to TV 14, if so, how would they book it with a more mature audience? What does this mean for WWE moving forward? I could answer that as a wrestling fan that would enjoy the TV 14 because we might have the return of blood. We could have a couple of expletives. Could be a little more violent on TV. But I have to look at it in a realistic way. When you look at it in a realistic way, even though it's boring and even though it's unsexy, when you look at it in a realistic way, you're not let down. WWE is not going to return to TV 14. The idea of doing a third hour for TV 14, even though Nick Khan said that, in my opinion, and I truthfully believe my opinion is right, the reason why Nick Khan said that was because he wants to tell indirectly all the networks, we're open to any ideas that you have. If a network came to us and said, we want to have Raw, but we want third hour to be TV 14, yeah, we're open to it. The fact is, Raw for 26 years has always been designed that the show sets up a main event. You're not going to have kids watching at 8 o'clock at night and at 9 o'clock at night and at 10 o'clock at night anticipating a main event, but now they have to go to bed because 10 o'clock it's TV 14. It is kid-friendly. If you look at everything that WWE puts on their social media, they're always showing the wrestlers interacting with kids. Kids are a tremendous part of the WWE business. Family friendly will always be part of it. Could WWE have a different show that is targeted for a more mature audience? Yeah, I could see that. Maybe not how they have main event that they do every week, they do main event. They could launch a new 1 hour show and have it be a little bit more mature audiences. The reason why I don't really believe that would even happen is because if you go TV 14, then you're forced to add to it. One misconception about wrestling over the years is that wrestling sucks if it's not TV 14 or it's watered down. I grew up I became a wrestling fan in 79, but I grew up watching wrestling in the 80s. And yes, ECW stole me in 93 as my favorite. But growing up in the 80s, it was TV PG. But there was a lot outside of it where there was a lot of blood, a lot of violence, and that technically was TV 14. But what you watched on TV was TV PG to an extent. I think, the snake biting Macho Man would have been TV 14. But the thing is that their family and kids are too ingrained in WWE for them to go TV 14. I don't see it happening. That's why when everybody broke online last year that the following Raw they were going to go TV 4, I think I'm the only person, and I'm legit, and you go back and do timestamps, I think I'm the only person that said ain't happening. Doesn't make sense. For the business side of it, it made no sense. And they all got left with their tail between their legs. Oh, it ain't happening yet. Yeet. I think a lot of UK fake news reporters last year, I think they're the one that got the word yeet popular because they have that accent. They were actually saying yet. No, it's not happening yeet. It ain't happening yeet. It will happen, but not yeet. Why do I look the other way whenever I do that? Tristan, you keep asking that question 1,000 times. I ain't answering it. Just being honest. Maggie, middle Roman's, left middle. Roman's only 38. Oh, she's addressed someone else. Why would he retire? If he retired, he'd have to find something else to watch. Roman Reigns ain't retiring anytime soon, but Roman Reigns, they're protecting him also because of WrestleMania. They're protecting him so he doesn't get injured or something tragically goes wrong between now and WrestleMania. Roman Reigns, that's why he has the tribal combat. And that's why Roman has these gaga matches to an extent where Roman is fighting LA Knight. Roman is playing up to the crowd and Roman is laughing and he's going like this, like LA Knight. And next thing you know, 7 minutes go by and you're like, Roman, you really didn't do much, because they're trying to protect Roman at all costs to prevent him from putting himself in a situation where he could get injured. There's always a chance of a freak injury, but WrestleMania 40 is huge and important. And Cody Rhodes has to keep the ball right now, and he's forced that he's got to perform on a weekly basis because Roman is not. And some others have not. Roman will not be retiring anytime soon. But if you watch Roman closely, Roman is the elite performer. He is the quintessential sports entertainer. Roman could go in the ring. But if you really take back and look at Roman's matches over the last 6 months, they are much more watered down than you think because they want to make sure Roman at all costs is as protected as possible going into WrestleMania 40. All right. Tristan asks, what do I think happened? What do I think went wrong with the Starrcade 97 main event? Well, let's quickly, because I don't have the encyclopedia in front of me. Let me see what the main event was. Oh, Sting versus over Hulk Hogan. There's a lot of Starrcades over the years. So Starrcade 97, is that the if I am correct, this is the topic that Eric Bischoff recently talked about, where there was an issue with Sting and how he won. Was that the night where Bret Hart was he hit Nick Patrick? And Nick Patrick, and just proves it. I saw it. Nick Patrick was gonna do the pin, and for some reason Bret Hart shows up, and Nick Patrick's like, "What are you doing?" And Nick Patrick hits him, and he goes, "Is that the match? Is that the match?" That's the yeah. I remember it now clearly. Bischoff talked about this not too long ago. There was creative issues. There was issues, and Bret Hart. Listen. At the end of the day, Sting won the match. I don't think he held the belt all that long, but Sting won the match. And I'm not going to lie to you, at that time, listen, as years go by, people forget about little details here and there. When Bret Hart, in 2023, we realized Bret Hart's run in WCW was a big disappointment. I think Bret will even admit that. We all agree on that. Let me make this point. In 1997, when Bret came out as the referee, as stupid as that was with Nick Patrick, and Sting put the Scorpion Deathlock on Hulk, and Bret is checking on Hulk, and he rings the bell. Bret Hart did not have a career in WCW yet. This was 1997. This was shortly after the Montreal Screwjob. So we anticipated a big career for Bret Hart in WCW. So at the time Starrcade 97 happened, there wasn't much of an issue. I don't remember what I covered on the hotline at the time, but there wasn't this great controversy. You go on Wayback Machine and look at wrestling chats and some old news sites from 97. There wasn't this. People bring it up now because all these years later, and you look back on Bret Hart's career in WCW. So now people look back and are like, what was up with this and what was up with that? At the time, it wasn't that big of a deal. WCW was a complete clusterfuck already with the NWO. So Bret coming out there and punching Nick Patrick and Nick, like flailing his arms, and then Bret giving the win to Sting, Bret just started. So there wasn't an issue. You got to think of it at the time, wasn't an issue. We got about 13 minutes left, guys. 13 minutes. Check-in questions. Let's see. What was the Shane McMahon best stunt ever? Rye, my favorite Shane McMahon stunt, which was really not a stunt, but it will always be number one on my Shane McMahon moments, is the King of the Ring match with Kurt Angle. That match I have watched, I don't want to say more than any other match, but I have watched that match as much as any other match in the last 10 plus years. I know the match is longer than much more years than that, but Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, King of the Ring, when he went through the glass, that shit was crazy. And especially when the first time he hit him with the angle slam and he or belly to back, whatever it was, and he landed on his head, that thud was sickening. Shane McMahon will always have my respect for what he did in that match. He's done other stunts. He's fallen backwards from 10 times higher in the air. The match with King of the Ring will always be number one for me. And if some of you out there never saw that match, go watch it. You will not regret it. You'll be like, it still holds up to today. It's brutal, but it still holds up to today. Devrev, who hates more, Cornette to Russo or Bret to Goldberg? It's two different hates, man. I don't think Cornette violently wants to hurt Vince Russo. I mean, Jim Cornette believes that Vince Russo is everything that was wrong with wrestling over the years. Bret lost his livelihood. Bret lost the ability to do what he loved. And yes, he came back for a short period of time when he returned to the WWE. But I think, let me put it this way. I don't think Bret hates Goldberg more because Bret knows Goldberg wasn't trying to hurt him. Goldberg was put out there. Goldberg was not fully trained. Goldberg was rushed. And I think WCW has just as much to blame as Goldberg. But if Goldberg acts like he doesn't give a shit what happened to Bret, then that's where I don't blame Brett for despising Goldberg. I think deep down inside, Goldberg, listen, I hate to use a comparison, but Droz, Droz was paralyzed because of an accident during a match with D'Lo Brown. We talked to D'Lo Brown shortly after that. A couple of times on the shows. And D'Lo Brown talk about depression and guilt. And, not only Droz, but a lot of people, even to this day, D'Lo Brown has, feels some type of guilt about it because he was the one in the ring at the time, but it was a freak accident. And it took a lot for people and Droz, to tell D'Lo 1,000 times over, look, wasn't your fault. It was an accident. You look at Ridge Holland and Big E. Ridge Holland to this day has a little bit of guilt, even though he knows it was a terrible accident, even though he knows deep down inside that, it just was an unfortunate incident. He wasn't sloppy, careless, but to this day, he still gets death threats for it. If Ridge Holland didn't give a shit about Big E, or if D'Lo Brown didn't give a shit about Droz, or if Goldberg didn't give a shit about Brett, no matter how many years later, Brett, come on, it's 20 years later, let it go. Droz, come on, it's 20 years later, let it go. Big E, come on, it's 20 years later, let it go. I think Brett, Droz, and Big E have every right to hit that person in the face with a baseball bat. I don't care if it's 1 year later or 20 years later, it still cost that person's livelihood to an extent. We're still hoping Big E could return to the ring, and I do believe Big E will make it back to the ring. I keep hope. But, at the end of the day, it was an accident with Brett. All right. Checking some questions. No, Ridge Holland, he really, I don't know him. I've only talked to a few people that, are friendly with him or, communicate with him. And he had nothing but remorse, even that night, just looking out for Big E and everything. It was an awful accident. I've had my opinion about it over the last, amount of time since it happened. I just hope Big E gets back to the ring. I think that would be tremendous for not only Big E, but also the Ridge Holland. Because the last thing that I think I would ever want to do, even if it was a car accident, the last thing I ever want to do is put someone in a situation where they have some permanent injuries. So it's not ballet, as Vince would say, but unfortunate accident. Goldberg wasn't just stiff, he was careless. Some things you just don't do. When he hit Brett with the mule kick, it's not something in the way it was done. Look, I'm not trying to discredit anybody's ability in the ring, but if Goldberg would have mule kicked Jerry Flynn, which I don't think could have happened because Jerry Flynn's like 9 feet tall, but if he would have hit, I don't know, Kiwi, and Kiwi a little less experienced and, didn't take it the right way. That's one thing. Okay. Maybe, Kiwi should have taken it a little bit different. You're talking about Brett, and Brett is someone who not only is a master of executing offense, but taking offense from others. And the fact that Brett was exposed like that, there was not only an errant kick, but there was miscommunication, and it definitely was carelessness on Goldberg's part. But that's why you go to school. That's why you go to the WCW training camps and everything, to be taught what you can and cannot do and how to do it and how to time and where to position yourself. And obviously that was something that, really was not, that should not have been in Goldberg's arsenal, was not needed. A mule kick to the face. Jerry Flynn wasn't bad. I always hated his name because it was so close to Jerry Lynn, but Jerry Lynn was Mr. JL in WCW. So, outside of WCW, you knew it was Jerry Lynn, but Jerry Flynn and Jerry Lynn, that was kind of too close. Jerry Flynn, I don't know. It was just something about him, but I always remember him like being extremely tall. And, they put him on enough episodes of Nitro. I'm kind of surprised how much TV time he did get when he was around, Jerry Flynn. I wonder if he's doing well. Anybody ever heard anything about Jerry Flynn? I haven't heard anything about Jerry Flynn. All right. Let's see what else is going on. Kevin Milwaukee. What are the odds that CM Punk, in that meeting with Triple H, told him bluntly, with past examples, that he will not deal with the same stuff, which was his reasoning behind walking out? Walking. I don't even think that's a real word. That's my fault. That wasn't Kevin's. Look, I think both sides definitely expressed some issues. I think Triple H did not put Vince McMahon under the bus. That's his father-in-law. Vince gave him the opportunity. The perception that everybody in WWE management is against Vince. It's the same mindset where they want the whole net to believe that the WWE still didn't beloved Fabulous Moolah. Let me make this clear. The McMahon family beloves Fabulous Moolah. But because of that Dark Side of the Ring episode and because of the what happened near WrestleMania, where they had to or whatever it was, they changed the name to the Mae Young Classic because of the backlash, they had to publicly quiet themselves about Moolah. But behind the scenes, the McMahon family adores Fabulous Moolah. And as far as when you say about CM Punk, I'm sure Triple H did not put Vince under the bus, but I'm pretty confident Triple H said to CM Punk, this is not the WWE of 2014. Hell, it's not even owned by Vince much at all anymore. What does Vince own? 16% of the stock? The board of directors is 6 for TKO and 5 for WWE. This is not the WWE of 2014. And I think at the same time, though, I think Triple H totally understands the issues with AEW. And I think frustration could lead to someone acting irrationally. It's not to justify what CM Punk did, but I think, they all agree. And plus, there's attorneys involved. CM Punk has attorneys now. It's a little bit different than what it was in 2014. If anybody is on our Patreon, and it's not a plug for Patreon, but it's there because, they help keep us financially business. We got to give them stuff back. But when Kevin and I had this discussion in 2014, there weren't lawyers involved at the time on CM Punk's part. Once Dr. Aman, filed the lawsuit, that's when things got different and shit got much different. CM Punk, I don't think, had Barry Bloom at the time. But, it's just now there's so many legalese that when you see a website saying that there's a behavior clause, I won't even acknowledge it as a news article because that's just common sense. It's the same reason why Mandy Rose got let go and others have been addressed. It's why some people in the recent releases without naming names were let go. Because they had, their conduct was a little bit against WWE standards. So CM Punk knows. It's just like the obedient dog reference I said earlier today. It's like a kid in a Catholic school. You have a strict teacher. Everybody stays quiet, doesn't make a move, and acts on their best behavior. It's like having a parent. Or you have a grandparent. Here's a great example. When I was a lot younger, my parents were very strict. Even with food, no cookies before dinner, no junk food before dinner. And when my mother would leave the room, my grandmother would say, take it. Don't say nothing. So I knew I could go to my grandmother and get away with a little bit more stuff. My mom and my dad, they wouldn't tolerate it. Same thing with CM Punk. CM Punk went there. It's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. A lot of politics, a lot of bullshit. And you either conform and get paid crazy well, or you leave or get kicked out. And that's what it is. In WWE, they don't take that. All right. Just about done. Drunk Guy says he heard last night that Chris Armand is still there. Any truth to that? I have not heard his name at all. I don't think he's still there. I'm shocked beyond belief if he's still there. You know why? If he was still there, people would have brought that shit up for the last bunch of months. That would be the first name, even before Vince. That's the first name that got. In fact, I think he was let go because there was some accusations of patient-doctor conversations that were leaked out, or he was accused of, revealing. There was some type of an issue. But no, Dr. Armand is not there anymore. That name would have came up months ago that, CM Punk was going to possibly return. Ain't no way nobody would have brought up that name. So, yeah, he's not there. He's not there. All right, 3 more questions, and we're going to get out of here. AG, have I ever seen Ravishing Rick Rude versus Mark Starr, where Rick Rude is shooting on him and screaming obscenities to Vader? I'm sure I have seen it. I probably have not seen it in years and years and years. There is a YouTube video out there where wrestlers shooting on their opponents. The most infamous one is Perry Saturn. Mike Bell, I think his name might have been. But yeah, there's one with Rick Rude. There's one with Vader. There's one with the British Bulldogs. Look, if you notice the common denominator in almost all these matches, the person they're facing is enhancement talent. And sometimes enhancement talent, either they're not experienced enough and should not be in there, and the wrestler gets pissed because they could get hurt. When I was doing stuff in the indie circuit with managing, and a few of you have been asking me lately to put some clips on Twitter, and I will very soon. But I have a couple of interviews where I said I'm the most dangerous person in wrestling. I legitimately said that a few times in interviews, saying I'm the most dangerous person in wrestling. Do you know why? Not because I have money or a money mark or anything like that. I'm the most dangerous person in wrestling because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. I'll drop you on your fucking head. Have no idea what I'm doing. I will cripple your ass because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like going behind the wheel and driving, and you never had a driving lesson in your life. But the thing is, the common denominator is that a lot of the opponents of these guys were either too inexperienced and should not have been in there. And the wrestlers that get paid very, very well, and this is their livelihood, they're paranoid that I could get fucking hurt because of this person. And they snap. That's why the whole thing with, not to justify it, but you look at mass transit with New Jack. This kid shows up, lies about his age, lies about where he was trained, said I think he went to Killer Kowalski school or something, and he's in the back in the ECW locker room, and he's trying to book the match, and he's walking around like he's an ECW superstar, and people are like, who the fuck is this fat kid? And he goes out there, and it ends up that he doesn't know what he's doing, and the wrestlers snap because this is their livelihood. This is their art form. This is what they do. They don't want to be disrespected. They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to be injured. So some of these wrestlers snap. Some other enhancement talent think that they're much better than what they are. And they try to get a little bit cute in the ring. And then that's where Vader is puts him in the corner, and Vader's like, push, push, push. Really punch him in the face. And he's like, oh, fuck. I crossed the line. Nah, lawsuits never ensued. because even with enhancement talent, if you threaten, look, if you got seriously injured, that's one thing. But if you fucked up and a wrestler went to town on you a little bit, if you really complained, you weren't getting work anywhere else. You know, you're a tattletale, you're a rat, you're a complainer. You fuck up and you get a little receipt for it and you start threatening you're going to sue the world, no one's going to take you in. Especially when those guys at the time would only get paid $50, $100. One of my friends, I'll tell you this, I won't mention his name, but you'll be able to figure it out. One of my friends, I haven't talked to in a little while, but I used to actually do work with in indie wrestling. He's wrestled for GCW many times. And there was one time where, he was in the ring. I don't want to say what company it was, but it was earlier before I ever did anything with him. And the guy in the ring lied about his training and said that he could do this with that. And then they went and do a high-flying move and almost dropped my friend on his neck. And the guy thought he did the most spectacular move. He got up and he was like this, looking for all the accolades. And my friend just walked up to him and just slapped him in the face really, really hard. I think he still has the finger imprinted, and started wailing on him. And when they went to the back afterwards, he's like, brother, I'm sorry. And he took it like a man, and that was it, and I don't think he's ever been seen ever again. All right. Question number 2 or 3, and we're going to get out of here. Mark Hicks, do I think CM Punk will be world champion in WWE again? I will say the same answer that I said with Kev the other day. CM Punk will be a world champion again. It will not happen before WrestleMania. I don't even know if it'll happen before the summer of 2024. I don't know if CM Punk will get any championship before WrestleMania. I don't see him beating Seth Rollins for that championship unless they're going to turn CM Punk into heel public enemy number 1. I think CM Punk is going to be similar to Cody Rhodes, with the exception Cody getting the tag team title. I don't think anybody expected it, because once he was on the road to finish the story, people thought world champion or bust. So when Cody won a championship, you know what I mean? Like, it was, oh, okay, he can win a title and still finish the story. I don't see CM Punk winning a championship before WrestleMania. Can he be world champion next year? Yeah. If the cards are right and it feels right, yeah. But right now, Roman is still champion. Cody will be champion. Gunther is still a champion, and he may go for a higher belt in the future. So, yeah, CM Punk will be a champion if he fulfills his career and he doesn't have any issues of serious injury or behavioral shit within the next year or two. CM Punk will have a belt. Why wouldn't he? But right now, no. Right now, no. Isaiah, I answered the TV14 question you asked earlier. All right. Last question. Let's make it good. I'm seeing. Okay. Let's finish with Jade Cargill. K-Dog. He doesn't watch AEW, but if Jade Cargill needs to be trained in NXT, I don't understand what's her hype. Brock Lesnar. Go on YouTube or Twitter. Somebody rehashed it recently, and it's worth a look. Brock Lesnar, when he was in OVW, he was in a tag match with Shelton Benjamin. And Brock and Shelton flipped over the top rope, and Brock landed right on his ass. And people were laughing their shit. They were laughing their ass off at Brock. Brock just got up, acted like it never happened. There was nothing about Brock Lesnar to even hint to us that he could be the next big thing. And you see what Brock Lesnar ended up being. I saw, before Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle debuted on WWE television on a regular roster, we went to Madison Square Garden one night myself, Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, Timmy Arson, ECW Zombie, God rest his soul. We all went to the Garden. And the dark match featured Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. And we went on a hotline that night and said, these guys suck. These guys sucked up the joint. They were not good at all. Look what they turned out to be. But with Brock Lesnar, you saw him coming out of Minnesota. You saw the physique, and he just looked like a freak. Like that guy, if he could put it together, that guy is money. There is a presence about a person that if they put it together, it's money. Let me make this clear. When Jade Cargill made her debut in AEW, and she's flexing and calling out Cody and ends up doing something with Shaq, gets into it a little bit with Brandy, we were like, the fuck is this bodybuilder? You know, like she looked like a bodybuilder. Impressive look, but there was nothing about her. Oh my God, she could be the next Chyna. Early on, she really did not do much. What AEW did was, instead of turning her into a superstar where she could have a 15, 20-minute match, they did the opposite of what they do with the men's roster. And I'll prove the point right now. I watched something today with Jim Cornette that kind of backs this up. Last week, we saw Swerve Strickland versus Jay Lethal. Now, we all love Jay Lethal. We all have followed him. I followed him. I've said this many times back in the days of Jersey All Pro Wrestling, when nobody knew who Jay Lethal was, and we would go to Jersey, and his family would be in the boondocks, loudest cheerleaders in the room for Jay Lethal before he ever even had a name. I'm a big fan of Jay Lethal. But the way he's been used in AEW for a long time, Jay Lethal should only have 5 7-minute matches at the most. Jay Lethal has not been used where he should be taken that seriously in the ring. He ends up going 20 minutes with Swerve. As Jim Cornette said, and I agree with him 200%. And Brian Lair said this too. AEW is more concerned about a star rating that Jay Lethal and Swerve went 20 minutes, 4.5 stars, instead of telling the actual story that Swerve is on such a dominant run right now. He fucking went through Jay Lethal in 5 minutes or in 7 minutes. Give Jay Lethal a little bit of offense, but no, it's got to be even. 20 minutes, totally unnecessary. And they do that a lot with men's matches. With all due respect, Mark Briscoe versus John Moxley, yeah, that could go 15, 20 minutes. But Mark Briscoe versus Jay White, are you kidding me? Seriously? Because everything has to be, you know, like 4-star, 15, 20 minutes, kick out at 95 finishes. But for Jade Cargill, it's let me fight Mary Had a Little Lamb, number 2. Let me fight no name, you know, some dumb fuck. Let me fight Emi Sakura 11 times. Let me fight, you know, people that are this high on the food chain. And then the next thing you know, she's got 34 wins. Ooh, now she's going to fight Mercedes Martinez. And then she'll fight blah, 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 blah. Then she'll fight. Then next thing you know, she's got 65 wins. And most of her matches are like 3-4 minutes long. Ooh, Ruby Soho. She has a match with Ruby Soho. And then she fights Linda Lackluster, number 1. You know, so instead of giving Jade Cargill enough where she could go 15, 20 minutes against somebody good, you're like, wow, she can really go toe-to-toe with a Tony Storm or Ruby Soho or Britt Baker or Chris Statlander. At the very end of Jade Cargill's run, you started to see that Jade Cargill does have some talent. What Jade Cargill did in her last match against Chris Statlander, she should have been able to do that in her first 10 matches in AEW. She had to go through 100 matches to get to average status. So now she goes to WWE, and Triple H says, she's got a long way to go. Her training is, it's nothing, to her, it wasn't her fault. Like, they have more work to do, and it's not because of her. It's the way AEW trained her. It's almost like Jade Cargill was a mule kick away from seriously hurting someone. I know they had the Goldberg run for her, but let's get her enough where she looks okay on TV. Blah, 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 jaded, blah, 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 match over. And then, that's why when she had matches against some bigger names, those matches were not very good. So Jade Cargill, she's got an unbelievable look. She has a good background. She's not, as far as we know, a bitch in real life. She is a responsible mom. She's very well liked. She is dedicated. She's athletic. She looks like a superhero. She looks like a movie star. She looks like a larger-than-life women's wrestling character. And if she could put the tools together, as some people say, that bitch is money. That's why Jade Cargill has this aura. You look on social media, she's making all these appearances for WWE, and she hasn't had a match yet. People realize that if she could back up the hype, she's going to be one of the greatest women's wrestlers of this generation. She could be, kind of like what Rhea Ripley is, what Chyna was to an extent. She'll be her own person. But she's got the look, she's got the aura, she's got the size, she's got the strength, she's got the dedication, she's got the background, she's got the personality, she's got the confidence. She doesn't look like somebody that's working selling sunglasses in a mall. She doesn't look like somebody that would give you your coffee at a Starbucks. She looks like a superstar. She looks like a superhero. That's why when you see her, you say, okay, we do this shit the right way. We got the next big thing. And that's why she's getting the attention she gets. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I don't have any thumbnail for tomorrow's show yet because I haven't thought about it in my mind what it should show. One thing we know for sure is that Drew McIntyre is going to spoil the Jey Uso Seth Rollins match. So that's going to be the big theme coming out of tomorrow. But tomorrow's Raw should be interesting. CM Punk should be on it again. We will see Jey Uso challenge Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Drew McIntyre getting involved there. And we'll see if there's any progress with the Creed brothers, now number one contenders for the Judgment Day, and we go further. So if you enjoyed today's show, you know what to do. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. It is free. If you notice on a weekly basis, I normally never plug that, but, be nice to get to like 40,000 subscribers after a while. We've been, around 31,000, 32,000, somewhere around there for a while. So let's start picking up the numbers. I will tell you this, for real, no bullshit. I don't pay attention to the deep analytics here because still about 90% of my audience accesses the audio-only shows, which really is what keeps me alive more than anything. DonTony.com. Download those shows, everyone. We're in the top 40 right now. And that's with the numbers being skewed over here. Shit, yesterday I had 2 live streams going. So all the stats for like yesterday's show, a whole bunch of them was an episode I had to delete because somehow my show was streaming 2 different areas at the same time. Get sloppy. But I will say this. I do notice that about 65% of you that do access the shows are not subscribers. And subscribing costs nothing. So, if we could get that more like 50-50, that would be pretty cool. So right now, only about 35% of you that tune in are subscribers. So subscribe It's free. Takes about 10 seconds and can make the haters hate me a little bit more. So it's in the background usually shows the number, but I can't see it right now. It just says we're live. So guys, have a good night. And again, if you want a little funny clip, what I was saying about that party yesterday, go to my Twitter at Don Tony D. I'll put more videos up in the next couple of days, and you'll see some of the bizarre stuff from yesterday. I swear to you, I thought I was at a political rally. I had a great time. They really, really made it a great night. It was a fun night, but it was just strange. Everything was American flag, USA. Everything was, I can't put it here because I get copyright. There was one point during the party yesterday where they started singing "We Are the World." The music video, Hands Across America, whatever it is. We are the world. We are the children. And it's a good song. I mean, I remember when it came out, Cyndi Lauper gave me a brain aneurysm when she screamed out of nowhere. But they had it on they had it on all the screens, and everybody's going, "We are the world." I'm like, is the world coming to an end? Everything yesterday was USA, American flags, "We are the world." And I'm like, is there something going on that I don't know? I had a great time, but it was a really, really heavy USA, which, again, I'm not criticizing it, but when I put the video up, you'll see it. On all the screens, you see Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and Cyndi Lauper and Hall & Oates, and everybody's going, "We are the world." And I'm like, what is going on? This is 2023. It's supposed to be a Christmas party. You're supposed to be like, "Here comes Santa Claus," or, "Chicky chichi, hee-ha, hee-ha, it's Dominic the donkey." Nothing like that yesterday. Nothing. But we did have Fat Man Scoop, who I mistakenly called Fat Boy Scoop yesterday, and somebody quickly corrected me. "DT, it's not Fat Boy Scoop, it's Fat Man Scoop. Put your hands up. Put your hands up." I'll post those videos. You'll have a good laugh at it. Be well, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking.
Oh, yes.
We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. "You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us." But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.